Gentlemen, I am on a 2100 side quest. My main quest is to find the best beater watch of, G-Shock or whatever. And I believe I found it. It is the Mudman GAB2100. This thing is an optimization of size, toughness, and cost. But the 2100 series is the most popular watch on G-Shock, according to the bestseller list of gshock.com. So I picked up this GAB2100 CT-5A, and this one has the fabric band. And so I've been wearing this watch for 3 weeks to get a good feel for, how durable this band is. And you can see that already some of the rivets are sinking in, okay? After 7 days, these rivets started sinking in where I run, on the one that I run the this little buckle through, right? So this fabric band was supposed to be a special eco band, and so you guys watched my unboxing where I was making fun of all of the eco promises. Everything eco is worse, right? Like ultra low sulfur diesel fuel is worse than regular diesel. This is bioresin. It's not as good as regular resin. And this is like recycled textiles, which I knew it wasn't going to be as good. Everybody knew it. But I just wanted to see how well it would hold up. And overall, I was actually impressed that, besides the rivets sinking in the back, it still was pretty good, And the other question was filth. As you can see on my sleeve, all my clothes get very dirty. I work in the oil field. So I just, put on my wrist and, let it just worked. And I didn't do a whole lot of really dirty work because last month I did a lot of the maintenance that was due on the equipment I operate. And so, that most of this filth it was subjected to was from rigging up, okay? But the watch is very thin, and that's the reason why it's so popular on gshock.com. And it being thin means it fit under the sleeve. And it being under the sleeve actually protected it from getting more filthy than it would have if it was sticking out of the sleeve all the time. And with Mudman isn't even that big for G-Shock watches, but sometimes the sleeve would get caught up on it and it would get subjected to a lot of dirt. The good thing is that this is mud resistant, so it hold up well. But despite this fabric band being more susceptible to stainage, I think it still did a pretty good job because my sleeve was taking most of the hits in terms of filth. All right, so it did get dirty. I got some fresh grease on it somehow. Nobody's explained to me exactly how I would have got a huge dollop of grease on it, but I wiped it off with a blue rag, and it was getting really dirty and dingy. I threw it in the washing machine. I literally threw it in the washing machine across the room, and I think it was Zach who was more worried about the washer and dryer. And yes, I did throw it in the dryer too. So it came out clean. Now, the durability of the band is just not there. Okay, I'm already thinking about ordering another one. In part of the GA or the part of the 2100 side quest is I'm going to get another GA2100, and the next one up would be the GA2100 C. It's the Cordura. So Cordura is like a nylon made of petroleum. It's derived from petroleum products, rather than this cotton, which is derived from a plant. And I know that some of you watching are cotton farmers. Howdy to y'all. But yeah, I mean, this. I think this had a waxy treatment on the band, and washing it did wear some of it off. But I like the fabric band a lot more than I was expecting, because my impression of the fabric band is from back in the 80s and 90s. Timex had their, I think it's the Expedition. It had a fabric band with puffy leather, and my friends had it, It didn't fit me, but my friends had it, and it would fall apart. I'd see it fall apart. So I'd always had a negative impression of fabric bands, and I always had resin bands. The problem is that on the GA or on the 2100 series with the resin bands, they're not that long, and they kind of stick down in the funny way that a lot of G-Shocks do. That is not conducive for a good fit on a big wrister. Okay, and so this is a Casio watch. This isn't a G-Shock, but you can see this is representative of how the band sticks down. And so this area here, I call it the watch crotch, for lack of a better term. If it's too small, it doesn't fit on a big wrister that well. It's kind of always sticking up and moving around, okay? And, you know, bigger watches like the King or the Mudman have a wider area for bigger wrists, which kind of makes it a better choice, okay? But a lot of big wristers were getting these strap adapters from the online. I think J's and K's had the most famous strap adapters, and in the forums, big wristers would ask for how to mod this 2100 or even a square in order to fit a big wrister, and J's and K's strap adapters were often recommended, okay? And that would allow a regular strap to go on to the 2100. And G-Shock saw this, and they, you know, started releasing their own watches with their own strap adapters, with their own fabric bands. Now, some people have a preference for the fabric bands, and I don't, because, you know, it gets dirty. And as I discovered, yeah, you can clean it, but still, in general, I prefer a resin band, okay? But this, like, in general, a lot of guys were getting strap adapters just to gain that extra length so it would fit their wrist. I'm happy to say that this strap is very long. I wear it on the 3rd notch, somewhat loosely, and my wrist is a little bit less than 8.5 inches, somewhere between, you know, 8 1/4, 8.5 inches. Depends on what was for supper last night. And so this cotton band was way more comfortable than I was expecting. Even when it was getting sweaty and dirty, it was still, I still had a positive impression of it. And it did get very dirty, it did get very dingy, and I washed it. I washed it for the 2nd time last night. And last night I just let it out to dry. I accidentally ran the washer on hot. I know that Robert and Lewis were chiding me for that on a different laundry session. I accidentally had the cycle on hot water, okay, but I did not dry it. I just let it air dry on the dresser, and it started to get wrinkly, okay. So the longevity of this band is not there, and it's eco, which, you know, I think eco stuff is dumb. However, in this case, I would like to point out that the dyes that were used were derived from food, and the good thing about that is that it's not as toxic as a lot of the crazy dyes that they put onto textiles that we wear. And when you think about it, like a shirt you have on your skin all the time, and this is treated with flame-resistant coating. So I don't know what the health ramifications will be long-term. But as much as I rip on eco stuff, I do appreciate the fact that, you know, it's just food-derived dyes, and it's good old-fashioned recycled cotton. Even though I think recycling is stupid, that, you know, it is cotton. And like I said, I can't knock cotton, especially knowing so many cotton farmers. They'll run over my pickup with their John Deere tractors if I badmouth cotton. So that might be twisting my arm around a little bit, but yeah, I like the cotton. I do. The next step, we'll compare a GA2100 with the nylon strap, and I'll see how it compares to this one. That will be the 2nd installment of this side quest of the 2100. So anyways, I've been going on and on about the strap. Everybody wants to know about the watch. Look at those hands. Let me get my pointer pen out, the metal readiness pen by Right in the Rain. Look at those hands. Look at that. What color is that? That is like, it reminds me of like when you go to paint the kitchen, right? And you go with your wife into Home Depot and you get bare premium paint. Like, all right, let's get white. And then like, you know, at the paint counter, they don't have just white. It's like 3 like sheets of paint chips that are all like various off-white colors, including this one, which I think would be something like Burlap Dreams. You know, they always have weird name like a mint mocha yummy water slide. You know, crazy names. Burlap Dreams. I think this is what it is. I could take this to Home Depot and hold some paint chips next to those hands. But the cool thing about these hands is that they're easy to read because they're light. There's contrast with the dial of the watch, but they're not garish. They're not like bright white, pure white. So when the 2100 watch first came out, it had a very muted color scheme on the dial. It was like various shades of black. And a lot of people complain they want that legibility. Like regular people really want high legibility on their watches. And Casio, I don't know, they drag their feet when it comes to legibility. But with the 2100, they heard so many people saying that, you know, the hands and the indices and the dial was all too dark. There was not enough contrast. They were like, fine. And they released a 2100 that had bright white indices and bright white hands. Okay, a lot of people like that, but it was kind of garish. It's kind of like Motorhead, you know, that like heavy metal band, like their roadie, you know, the sound guy. Their motto is make everybody louder than everybody else. That's what happens when you have like white hands and white indices. That you know, there's not enough subtle contrast. But this color, which I'm calling Burlap Dreams, I don't know what it's actually called, but it's not garish white, and it's not like as muted as indices or the dial, so it stands out enough that you can acquire the time. And if you're like a boomer who's been looking at analog hands your whole life, then you don't really need the indices, because you can just tell by the shape that the hands are making what time it is. Okay, like it's 3:30, just about, close enough, right? So the indices, the actual indices, which are the hour markers, they get a little bit of visibility based on the fact that they're 3-dimensional. So they have like some shadows to them. There's no loom on the indices. I think Sniper King was asking. And the lumination, just called Neo Bright, on the hands of this watch is not that bright, and it does not last that long. However, it has a dual LED. When you press the light button, this LED illuminates the analog hands, and that LCD is illuminated. And it does give it enough illumination that it is kind of like a mini flashlight, and it is kind of blinding. And Black Forest Ghost was saying, you know, it's too bright, and that you should be able to adjust it. I know you should, but this is like G-Shock we're talking about. They don't really like implement features like that really quickly. I would say that, you know, if I'm in bed at night and I'm like, oh no, did I sleep through my alarm? Let me frantically check the time. If you press the light button, it is too bright. It kind of hurts your eyes. So it's kind of better to keep your eyes closed, press the light button, open up your eyes, and then see the glow in the dark, the Neo Bright on the hands. Okay. But you know, if you don't have like the night blindness problem, in transient lighting conditions, this light comes on, and it is kind of bright enough to almost be a flashlight. You could find the keyhole on your car door with this light, but it's like kind of pointing at a weird angle. So the light's very bright. Okay, and you know, if you're worried about draining the batteries, don't, because this has solar charging, which is one of the good things about the GAB series, is that it has solar charging as opposed to the GA2100 series, just the regular series. I know it's confusing. I think that I might do a whole separate video to run down the whole story behind the 2100 series, which began with the GA2100 and then evolved into the GAB2100, and now there's like so many permutations of this watch. It's outrageous. But all these watches, the 2100 series watches, occupy a majority of the slots on the bestseller list on gshock.com. And if you guys watch my countdown, top 24 countdown of the bestsellers on gshock.com, you'll know that, okay? So I love this color, this whole color scheme. This watch really stood out to me, which is why I bought it, even though I think eco fabric is dumb and I think bioresin is dumb and I don't want the Bluetooth functionality of this watch. I thought it looked great. And when I first unboxed it, I was like, wow, this is fresh and so crisp. You know, it had these metal rivets and, you know, this khaki colored strap, and then the watch itself, I called it mushroom color, or maybe the slop, you know, in the cellar of an oil well. Like the Lorax would hate this color. Or it could be mushroom, since it's a food-based dye. I mean, it's kind of like a mushroom color. And there's, by the way, there's another watch, the GAB2100 CT-5A1 or something like that. That's like a coffee color. This is supposed to be derived from the color of tea, believe it or not, echinacea. So there's like a black one that's like kind of a mocha coffee colored. But on that one, the LCD screen is negative. So on this watch, LCD screen is negative, and this is my first experience with the 2100 series watch, which is Anadigi, meaning it has this digital display down here. And I thought that this little LCD display is nice and crisp. Okay, if you have trouble reading small letters and numbers, like you need reading glasses, you will absolutely not like this. And but I didn't have any problem. And if the hands are in the way, you can move them out of the way. I think Ian told me this. Holding the light, press the light first, then the mode, and the hands move out of the way so you can see the LCD screen. Okay, and so like you can have it display. See at the bottom, that's the time in digital. If you wanted to cheat, you didn't want to read the analog hands. Press the adjust once. Okay, I changed the mode by accident. We're in world time now. Let me get out of this. Now we're in stopwatch. Anyways, let me move on to this little subdial, which has a great pointer. Like, you see how big the actual arrow is in that subdial? You see that? It's like a big triangle. Only that one little line is painted, that orange line, and I think that's a great idea. It's another crisp detail of the face, and you can see what mode you're in, because this orange line points to the modes, and you'll know you're in main time when it's the little orange arrow is pointing to high, low, or medium for the battery indicator. And so I think that looks really good. It's a nice color. The problem is that on the regular GA2100 series, that subdial is day of the week. On this GAB2100 series, that subdial points to the mode. And if you want to know the day of the week, you have to look at the digital display. See how it says Friday? Well, what's the date? You press adjust. That's the time. That's the date. May 10th. Okay? And then, of course, there's a seconds. No seconds hand. I know someone was saying that they wish they had a seconds hand. You have the seconds on the digital display. I would prefer to have the subdial be day of the week, and so that, like, you know how I prefer with the watches, I would much prefer to see at one glance time, day of the week, and date. Because I look at my watch to know what day of the week it is just about as often as I do what time, because I have one of those jobs where every day seems like another. I have no idea what day of the week it is. I already forgot. What day of the week is it? Friday. Okay. So, I mean, it's kind of, you have to press this button to change from the day of the week to the date. Kind of annoying, but it gives you an excuse to press the button. And I can see why they may have switched over from the day of the week dial to the mode, because there's not really enough room on the LCD screen to fit in all the different modes and the battery level indicator. Because the regular GA2100, since it didn't have solar charging, did not have the battery level indicator. Okay. So I'll go into more detail about the actual functions and features of this GA2100 watch, GAB2100. I have not hooked up the Bluetooth. You know me, guys, I do not like Bluetooth. I have not used the Bluetooth. I just set the time the old-fashioned way, and it's still accurate. Right now it's saying it's 340 or 341, and well, I don't know, maybe it's not so accurate. Oh no, it's way off, right? I guess I have to set it again. Actually, we should do a test to for the accuracy of the time, because it's, I don't remember it being that far off earlier. Well, that will be a subject for another video. We'll test the, you know, how accurate the time is. Anyways, the look of this watch is it looks great, and it's very comfortable. Long-term durability is not there on the strap, but the watch itself seems very durable. As far as mud resistance goes, you know, this bezel's kind of, you know, the bezel you could get a lot of dirt and filth up there. You know, unlike the Mudman or the Mudmaster, any of the mud-resistant watches by G-Shock, a little more impervious to mud into the bezel and various architectural features of the watch. But, you know, I threw this one in the washing machine, and it seemed to come out looking pretty good. So, anyways, I'm trying to figure out why that time is way off. Maybe I need to recalibrate. I guess I do. Gentlemen, look at that. The internal time of the watch is 3:41, but the hands are clearly not pointing at 3:41.